In the dusty archives of the Royal Library of London, amongst forgotten manuscripts and documents classified 3 centuries ago, an extraordinary discovery came to light in 2023. A sealed chest, kept in the institution's deepest vaults, contained something scholars considered impossible: a wax cylinder recording from 1771 made just months before the death of Elias Thorne, the visionary who forever changed our understanding of the boundary between life and death. The recording, miraculously preserved through experimental techniques of the time, captured the final words of a man who for decades had walked between two worlds. Thorne, known for his scientific genius and mystical visions, had saved his deepest secrets for this final moment when the proximity of death made any dissimulation impossible. What was revealed on that winter afternoon would change everything we thought we knew about the nature of the soul and the destiny awaiting each human being. The voice emerging from the recording is frail but charged with unwavering certainty. Thorne had spent the last 27 years of his life in constant communication with spirits and angels, meticulously documenting his experiences in dozens of volumes that the Church considered heretical. But this final confession revealed something even more extraordinary. Not only were his visions real, but he had discovered the precise mechanisms by which the soul transitions from earthly life to eternity. For decades, the religious and scientific authorities of the time conspired to keep these revelations secret. The Church of England, terrified by the theological implications, ordered that all records be confiscated. The scientific community, in turn, could not accept that one of its most respected members, a man who had contributed to astronomy, physiology, and engineering, could have discovered concrete evidence of life after death. Thus, the recording was sealed and forgotten, destined to remain hidden until humanity was prepared for its truths. The account that follows is a faithful reconstruction of that final confession, based on the transcription of the original recording and fragments of personal diaries found alongside the chest. It is the story of how Elias Thorne, in his last months of life, finally decided to reveal what he had discovered about the greatest mystery of human existence. The December afternoon of 1771 was particularly cold when Thorne, then 83 years old, requested the presence of his closest assistant. His health was rapidly deteriorating, and he knew time was running out. For months, he had felt a growing presence around him, no longer just the spirits with whom he had communicated for decades, but something closer, more intimate. It was as if the very boundary between worlds was dissolving as his departure approached. That afternoon, Thorne began to speak about what really happens at the moment of death. His voice, though weakened by age, carried the authority of someone who had witnessed the deepest mysteries of existence. He explained that death is not an end, but a transition as natural as the sunrise. The soul, he said, does not abandon the body abruptly, but gradually frees itself from material constraints in a process that can last days or even weeks. During this transition period, consciousness experiences an extraordinary expansion. The senses amplify, perception deepens, and the soul begins to recognize aspects of reality that remained veiled during earthly life. Thorne described how in the first moments after death, the soul finds itself in a state of benevolent confusion, still believing itself to be in the physical world, but gradually realizing that something fundamental has changed. The visionary revealed that he had witnessed this process countless times during his mystical experiences. He had accompanied newly departed souls on their initial journey, observing how they were received by spiritual guides, often relatives and friends who had departed before them. These meetings, Thorne explained, were not casual encounters, but carefully orchestrated by higher intelligences who understand the specific needs of each soul. The recording reveals that Thorne had developed a detailed cartography of the spiritual world based on decades of conscious exploration. He described how post-mortem reality is organized into spheres or levels, each corresponding to different states of consciousness and spiritual development. These spheres are not physical places in the conventional sense, but dimensions of experience that manifest according to the inner nature of each soul. In the lower spheres, those closest to the material world, newly arrived souls undergo a period of adjustment. Here, reality still retains some familiar characteristics of the physical world, allowing consciousness to gradually adjust to the new condition. Thorne explained that these spheres are populated by communities of spirits who share similar affinities and interests, creating harmonious environments where learning and growth can continue. What was most striking about his revelations was the discovery that the afterlife is not a passive or contemplative existence, but extraordinarily active and creative. Souls continue to learn, grow, and develop, but now free from the physical limitations that characterized earthly experience. Thorne described how he had observed spirits engaged in activities that reflected their deepest passions, artists creating works of indescribable beauty, scientists exploring subtle natural laws, philosophers investigating truths that transcend human understanding. The recording also revealed a particularly moving aspect of Thorne's experiences, his own reunions with deceased family members. He had encountered his parents, siblings, and dear friends, discovering that the love that united them on earth remained intact and even intensified in the spiritual world. These meetings were not merely nostalgic encounters, but opportunities to complete relationships, resolve unresolved conflicts, and express feelings that had remained unspoken. Elias Thorne explained that he had learned about the fundamental nature of the soul through these experiences. The soul, he revealed, is not merely an extension of the mind or a function of the brain, but the very essence of being, a form of consciousness that exists independently of the physical body. This consciousness carries with it all the experiences, memories, and learnings accumulated during earthly life, but also something more, an innate capacity for infinite growth and connection with universal truths. One of the most extraordinary aspects of his revelations concerned the signs that precede death. Thorne had observed that in the days or weeks before passing, souls begin to naturally prepare for the transition. This manifests through vivid dreams, visions of deceased relatives, feelings of spiritual presence, and a growing disconnect from worldly concerns. He described these experiences not as hallucinations or products of mental deterioration, but as evidence of the soul aligning with its new reality. The recording also revealed that Thorne had developed a profound understanding of the role of purpose in human life. He explained that each soul incarnates with a specific mission, a unique set of experiences and learnings that contribute to both individual and collective development. Death, in this context, represents not the end of this mission, but its earthly conclusion and its continuation on higher levels of existence. During his final confession, Thorne addressed a question that had intrigued theologians and philosophers for centuries: judgment after death. His revelations suggested that this judgment is not imposed by an external deity, but is a natural process of self-assessment conducted by the soul itself. Free from the illusions and justifications that characterize earthly life, the disembodied consciousness sees with absolute clarity its actions, motivations, and the impact it had on other beings. This process of self-assessment, Thorne explained, is not punitive but profoundly educational. The soul recognizes where it acted with love and wisdom and where it deviated from these principles. This understanding becomes the basis for future growth, determining what experiences and opportunities will be presented in the spiritual realms. Thorne had observed that souls who had lived with love and service to others gravitated naturally toward higher realms, while those dominated by selfishness and malice found themselves in environments that reflected these inner characteristics. The recording also contained revelations about communication between the worlds. Thorne explained that the barrier between the living and the dead is not as impenetrable as commonly believed. He had discovered that spirits frequently attempt to communicate with their earthly loved ones, sending subtle signals, influencing dreams, and even manifesting themselves in moments of great emotional need. However, these communications are usually filtered by the rational mind of the living, who interpret them as coincidences or products of the imagination. Thorne revealed that he had learned specific techniques to facilitate this communication, developing a sensitivity that allowed him to serve as an intermediary between the worlds. He described how he had helped countless families receive messages from deceased relatives, providing comfort and closure for those remaining on Earth. These experiences had confirmed his conviction that true love transcends death, maintaining connections that not even physical separation can break. A particularly fascinating aspect of his revelations concerned the nature of time in the spiritual world. Thorne explained that he had discovered that the spiritual realms are not subject to the linear time that characterizes earthly experience. Past, present, and future coexist simultaneously, allowing souls to access experiences and knowledge that transcend their individual existence. This discovery had revolutionized his understanding of the nature of consciousness and its capacity for infinite expansion. The recording revealed that Thorne had developed a profound understanding of the soul's evolution through multiple existences. While his revelations did not explicitly describe reincarnation in the traditional sense, they suggested that consciousness undergoes a series of progressive experiences, each contributing to its spiritual development. He had observed souls returning to the earthly world in different forms, continuing unfinished lessons or taking on new responsibilities in service to collective evolution. During his final confession, Thorne also addressed the question of pain and suffering. He had discovered that the most difficult experiences of earthly life frequently serve as catalysts for deeper spiritual growth. Suffering, when faced with courage and wisdom, can purify the soul and expand its capacity for compassion. He had observed that many of the most luminous souls in the spiritual realms had undergone significant trials during their earthly lives. The recording also contained revelations about the divine nature that permeated all of existence. Thorne described how he had directly experienced the presence of a supreme intelligence that harmoniously orchestrated all aspects of creation. This presence was not distant or authoritarian, but intimate and loving, manifesting itself through each individual soul and connecting all beings in a fundamental unity. He had discovered that this divinity did not judge or punish, but constantly offered opportunities for growth and fulfillment. As his confession drew to a close, Thorne revealed his most transcendental experience. In the preceding days, he had been invited to visit the highest realms of the spiritual world, regions of light and love so intense that even his expanded consciousness could not fully comprehend them. In these dimensions, he had encountered beings of unimaginable wisdom and compassion who revealed to him truths about the nature of existence that transcend any earthly knowledge. This final experience had confirmed all his previous discoveries, but also revealed that his learning journey was only just beginning. Thorne understood that even his decades of spiritual exploration represented only the first steps on an infinite walk of discovery and growth. Death, far from being an end, was a graduation to levels of experience and understanding that surpassed any earthly possibility. The recording concludes with Elias Thorne expressing his gratitude for the opportunity to share these revelations. He knew his words would be controversial and even dangerous by the authorities of his time, but he felt a responsibility to leave a record for future generations. His voice, though frail, carried a profound serenity, the peace of someone who had discovered the most fundamental truths about existence and no longer feared the approaching transition. If you have been moved by these extraordinary revelations and wish to continue exploring the deepest mysteries of human existence, consider subscribing to our channel. Each new archaeological discovery and each hidden manuscript that comes to light brings us closer to understanding our true nature and destiny. Together, we can continue to unravel the secrets that have been guarded for centuries, shedding light on the most fundamental questions about who we are and where we are going.
Elias Thorne died peacefully on March 29, 1772, less than 3 months after making this recording. Witnesses reported that his final days were marked with extraordinary serenity and visions of light that seemed to emanate from his presence.
He had repeatedly spoken of friends who were coming to fetch him, referring to figures only he could see. On the morning of his passing, he was found with a gentle smile on his face, as if he had finally found those he had waited for so long. The discovery of this recording 3 centuries after his death is not only a historical revelation, but an invitation to reconsider our understanding of the nature of existence. Thorne's words suggest that death is not an interruption of life, but its continuation in a higher form. They remind us that we are more than just physical bodies inhabiting a material world. We are eternal consciousnesses on an infinite journey of growth and discovery. His revelations about the afterlife offer comfort to those who grieve the loss of loved ones, suggesting that bonds of love transcend physical separation. They also challenge our understanding of the purpose of earthly life, suggesting that every experience, every relationship, and every challenge contributes to our spiritual development in ways that may not be immediately apparent. Thorne's vision of the progressive nature of spiritual existence offers a hopeful perspective on the future of humanity. If his revelations are correct, our journey does not end with physical death, but continues into dimensions of experience that transcend our current imagination. Each soul that departs this world is not lost, but transformed, continuing its evolution in spheres of ever-growing love and wisdom. Thorne's revelations about the afterlife offer comfort to those who grieve the loss of loved ones, suggesting that bonds of love transcend physical separation. They also challenge our understanding of the purpose of earthly life, suggesting that every experience, every relationship, and every challenge contributes to our spiritual development in ways that may not be immediately apparent. Thorne's vision of the progressive nature of spiritual existence offers a hopeful perspective on the future of humanity. If his revelations are correct, our journey does not end with physical death, but continues into dimensions of experience that transcend our current imagination. Each soul that departs this world is not lost, but transformed, continuing its evolution in spheres of ever-growing love and wisdom. Thorne's recording also challenges us to reconsider our approach to present life. If we are truly spiritual beings having an earthly experience, then each moment becomes sacred, each relationship becomes an opportunity for mutual growth, and each challenge becomes a chance to develop our capacity for love and wisdom. The perspective of eternity does not diminish the importance of present life, but intensifies it, suggesting that our actions and choices have consequences that extend far beyond what we can imagine. Thorne's revelations about communication between worlds also suggest that we are never truly alone. If the spirits of our loved ones continue to accompany and subtly influence us, then death does not represent an absolute separation, but a transformation in the nature of our relationships. This understanding can bring immense comfort to those who are grieving, reminding us that true love is truly eternal. The final message that emerges from this extraordinary confession is one of hope and purpose. Thorne reminds us that we are participants in a great cosmic symphony where each soul plays a unique and essential role. Our journey is not solitary, but shared with countless other beings who, like us, are learning to express the love and wisdom that constitute our deepest nature. Death, according to Thorne, is not an end to be feared, but a transition to be embraced with curiosity and hope. It is the moment when we finally understand our true nature and our eternal destiny. It is when we reunite with those we love and continue our journey into dimensions of beauty and meaning that transcend any earthly experience. As we await our own transition, Thorne's revelations invite us to live with greater awareness, compassion, and purpose. They remind us that each day is an opportunity to grow spiritually, to express love in deeper ways, and to contribute to the collective evolution of humanity. In the certainty that our journey continues beyond physical death, we can face life's challenges with greater courage and embrace each moment with gratitude and wonder. The recording of Elias Thorne remains a powerful testament to the eternal nature of human consciousness. His words echo through the centuries, offering hope, comfort, and inspiration to all who seek to understand the deepest mysteries of existence. In a world often dominated by materialism and doubt, his revelations remind us that we are spiritual beings on an infinite journey of love, learning, and discovery. Perhaps the greatest gift Thorne offers us through this final confession is the reminder that death is not the end of the story, but only the end of a chapter. The adventure of consciousness continues, and the best is yet to come. In his own words, miraculously preserved through the centuries, he assures us that life is eternal, love is imperishable, and the soul never walks alone. This is his final message to mankind, a promise that our journey does not end with death, but transforms into something even more beautiful and meaningful than we can imagine.